Hello and welcome back to the Second Chance to Live channel here on YouTube. This video presentation marks the 400th video presentation that I've created for Second Chance to Live. That's right, 400, 400th article, video presentation. To read today's video presentation, bring up the article. I want to thank you for your time. Here's the article. Second Chance to Live, author's autobiography in bullet points. Yesterday I was asked, how did you get all the information regarding your brain injury? Earlier this week, someone else asked if I had a resume of information that they could share with individuals. Realizing that I had not worked in gainful employment since 1999, I decided to do something different. I decided to put together an autobiography of my process and journey in growing up and living with the impact of my brain injury. For those who do not know, my traumatic brain injury occurred due to an open skull fracture in an automobile accident in 1967 when I was 10 years old. At the time, I sustained right frontal lobe damage, a severe brain bruise with brainstem involvement. I remained in a coma for 3 weeks. My process and journey understood in a puzzle and pieces. I like visual metaphors. One such metaphor is the jigsaw puzzle. A jigsaw puzzle with many pieces that, when put together, creates a picture and a story. Using the illustration of a jigsaw puzzle, I see my experience as a process and a journey, not a destination. A process and a journey created by one puzzle piece at a time. Each puzzle piece containing a lesson that connects me to the next puzzle piece in my process and on my journey. And I have a note here that the size of the font in this article may be small, but it doesn't pertain because you're listening to this video presentation, so I will go on. The pieces of my process and journey, my growing up pieces. What I'm going to be doing is sharing my experience in bullet points, so it's not in sentences necessarily. So here we go. I grew up feeling as though I did not just make mistakes, but that I was a mistake. At the age of 10, in August of 1967, I was in a motor vehicle accident with my family. Per my injuries, I fractured my left femur, the thigh bone, largest bone in the body, on my dad's bucket seat on the way to the windshield, where I sustained an open skull fracture. I sustained right frontal lobe damage, a severe brain bruise with brainstem involvement. I remained in a coma for 3 weeks and in traction to set my left femur for 6 to 7 weeks. I was placed in a spica or full body cast for 5 to 6 months. In 1967, there was not much in the way of neurological rehabilitation. I taught myself how to walk, talk, read, write, and speak in complete sentences with hard work, determination, tenacity, and encouragement from family, and most of all, the grace of God. My parents had me undergo 2 EEGs and a battery of cognitive and psychosocial testing in 1968. The results were shared with my mom and dad, but not with me. I was tutored at home through my 5th grade, and then was mainstreamed back into elementary school in the 6th grade in September 1968. The results of the tests, the EEGs and the psychosocial neuropsychosocial testing, were shared with my parents, but not with me, as I shared. Once my external wounds healed, the impact of my traumatic brain injury was never again factored into my experience that I encountered in my life. This lack of awareness and acceptance continued for the next 39 years. The next set of pieces are my education pieces. Undergraduate degree. I graduated on time with my high school class in 1975. I applied to the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, and I was accepted. and I began a program in 1975 in geology. In my second year, I switched to physical education. I then transferred to a community college in 1977, took a class in physical education, applied to the nursing licensed practical nursing program. I took prerequisites, obtained my nursing assistant certification. I earned my emergency medical technology certification after taking the course over for the second time. I was accepted into the licensed practical nursing program. 8 weeks before I was scheduled to graduate from the LPN program, or licensed practical nursing program, I was asked to withdraw from the program for what I was told was my inability to follow instructions. Little did I know that I had a difficulty remembering sequences of information. I withdrew from the LPN program and then left the community college in 1980. I transferred to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1982. My parents were asked to meet with the department chair in 1984 due to some interpersonal difficulties. I graduated from Oral Roberts University in 1985 with a BA degree in theology and physical education recreation. It took me 10 years to obtain my undergraduate degree, then my graduate degree. I applied to Asbury Theological Seminary and was accepted on probation in August 1985. During the first year, during the J term, which was between January and February, when classes did not meet, I worked at a hospital as a student chaplain. Things did not go well for me. I received a poor evaluation. I was asked to meet with the department chair at the seminary, who had me start to see a counselor in the second semester. At the end of the second semester, I was told that I would be contacted at the end of the summer after the seminary council met to discuss, among other things, whether to allow me to start my second year at the seminary. I received a call at the end of the summer from the seminary at my parents' home telling me I would have to go through a year of counseling before being considered to start back at the seminary. I did not return to the seminary. Worked a year and a half and then applied to the graduate program in rehabilitation counseling at the University of Kentucky. I was accepted and began taking classes in the program in August of 1987. I did not complete the first practicum. I had difficulties writing IWRPs, which were individual written rehabilitation plans. I was asked to meet with the graduate program director because the practicum supervisor would not allow me to complete the practicum. The program chair debated whether to have me withdraw from the program, but decided to give me a second chance. The chair told me that he would give me a second practicum, but if I did not pass that practicum, I would be asked to leave the graduate program in rehabilitation counseling. I passed the second program. I also had difficulties with my internship and as a result received a poor evaluation. As a result, the department chair told me that he may not allow me to graduate with my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. The program chair told me that he would let me know an hour before the graduation ceremonies at the pre-graduation coffee. I was told at the coffee by the program chair that I would be allowed to graduate. I graduated in December of 1990 with a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. I sat for and passed the national credential exam for rehabilitation counselors, which is a certified rehabilitation counselor, or CRC. I received that certification. It took 3.5 years to obtain my undergraduate degree with 2 graduate schools. My next group or work-life pieces are: I was fired from many jobs during the course of 25 years. The all too familiar question by supervisors would say, "Can I see you in my office?" These words became words of dread to me. I was fired from Intercorps, workers' compensation, helping people that were injured on the job, from an outpatient clinic as a substance abuse counselor, and I was fired 8 hours after being hired, from the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, from Gulf Coast Community Care, a mental health aide 4, and from Crawford and Company's workers' compensation. I worked in the cemetery and funeral business in sales, fired shortly after being hired by a funeral home because of interpersonal difficulties with other sales staff. Fired from Winn-Dixie, a supermarket where I worked in a seafood department and as a bagger. I applied for SSDI with the Social Security Administration 2 times in 1984 and 1985 in Florida. I was denied both times due to making too much money, more than $500 a month. I applied for SSDI the 3rd time with the Social Security Administration in 1997-1998 in North Carolina. I was approved at the end of 1999. Here's the next group of my brain injury awareness pieces. After being told that I would be allowed to graduate at the coffee by the department chair at the University of Kentucky from the master's program in rehabilitation counseling, I called my mom. She told me the results from the testing when I was 10 years old, the EEGs and other cognitive psychosocial testing done in 1968. The results showed that I was not expected to succeed beyond high school academically. After being fired from Intercorps in Lexington, Kentucky, I moved to Florida. I got a job with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Toward the end of my probation period, I was having difficulties on the job. During a conversation with my supervisor, I shared that I had experienced a traumatic brain injury in 1967 when I was 10 years old. She, in turn, shared the information with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, or DVR manager, and he, in turn, shared the information with the district supervisor. The decision was made to make me a client of the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation while I was still working as a counselor on probation there at the DVR. As a client, I underwent another EEG and a neuropsychological evaluation. The results from the EEG showed organicity. The results from the neuropsych exam showed that I was succeeding far beyond all reasonable expectations. The neuropsychologist told me that working as a master's level counselor was unrealistic. The neuropsychologist stated in his report that I had succeeded far beyond all reasonable expectations through sheer persistence and motivation. I shared the news with my family. My dad said that the doctor did not know what he was talking about. I tended to agree with my dad with thinking that how could someone who sustained a traumatic brain injury at 10 years of age be able to obtain their master's degree. I realized that there was something affecting my life, but did not want to be identified as a traumatic brain injury survivor. I remained angry and confused. The outcome of my vocational rehabilitation experience did not result in a job placement. After a series of unsuccessful jobs I applied to and was recruited to North Carolina to begin working as a CRC, or Certified Rehabilitation Counselor, with a workers' compensation company or insurance company, Crawford and Company. 4 months after being fired, I was told that my services were no longer needed and I was fired. After an unsuccessful job search, I reapplied with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation in North Carolina. I also applied for SSDI with the Social Security Administration for the third time in late 1997. Following my evaluation and testing process with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation in North Carolina, my department or DVR counselor deemed me to be unemployable. Shortly after being deemed unemployable by the DVR in North Carolina, I was approved to begin receiving SSDI in late 1998. I continued to stay confused and angry, but was reaching a point in life where I could no longer deny my reality. Denying my reality was becoming more painful than my need to deny my reality. And then there are martial arts pieces. Excuse me. In my experience, I discovered through my process that I had been wounded in various ways for various reasons. In my experience, I discovered that I needed to heal in my mind, body, soul, spirit, and emotions. Martial arts have been one of the ways that I have found healing in my mind, body, spirit, soul, and emotions. Martial arts have helped me to improve my hand-eye coordination, foot-eye coordination, agility, coordination, balance, body awareness, reaction time, and confidence. I started training in the martial arts when I was a freshman in high school. I trained briefly in different disciplines over the years. However, during the past 24 or so years, I have been more consistent in my training. Training primarily in Muay Thai, kickboxing, Western kickboxing, Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, Kali, and modern harness. My study, drilling, and training in these disciplines have given me a way to train on both my dominant right and my non-dominant left side of my body. By doing so, I have developed skills that I never dreamed possible. Neuroplasticity, which creates new neural pathways and brain reorganization through repetitive mirror movement. By drilling skills a bazillion times, I have developed muscle memory in my legs, arms, hands, feet, knees, and elbows. Doing so has helped me to use my body more efficiently, use the dominant and non-dominant sides of my body more efficiently. I use my body more efficiently as a martial artist and as an individual beyond my training in martial arts. Through my training in the martial arts, I have learned a life-changing principle. The journey and the process are more important than a ranking or color of any belt. As my show sensei reminded me on many occasions until I learned the lesson, a belt is merely something that holds one's pants up. Excuse me. Tenacity, persistence, perseverance, resilience, desire, focus, commitment, and dedication have all played a significant role in my development as a martial artist and as an individual. I have been training in different martial arts disciplines for the past 24 years. Excuse me. The next series of pieces are my second chance to live pieces, which I go into and share how I came to create Second Chance to Live. After being declared unemployable and disabled, I entered a time of depression. I felt like someone all dressed up with nowhere to go, although I diligently applied myself and I had learned through my educational and vocational paths. I spent 6 years advocating to have food stamp limits increased unsuccessfully, as I was only receiving $10 a month. I also advocated getting Medicaid eligibility increased, which was successful. I started to write poems and articles to share what I learned through my experience. After receiving some back pay, a friend helped me to purchase my first computer. I share more about my experience with this computer in my two-part article series, Backstory of Second Chance to Live, and I have links to both parts here in the article. I inputted poems and articles on my computer. I then wrote an autobiography and then a book. I registered my book with the Library of Congress, however, was unable to get the book published. Excuse me. A year or so later, a friend encouraged me to start a blog. He told me your material would be ripe for a blog. I took the risk and started something I knew nothing about on February 6, 2007. I created my weblog. My martial arts instructor gave me several suggestions for a name. I decided on and created Second Chance to Live blog. I had many people help me learn things about the blogosphere that I met through Second Chance to Live and through the WordPress.com community. I want to thank those people who were kind to me, Laura, Judith, Lori, and many others who helped me along the way as I was learning. Thank you for your time and kindness that you have shown to me, ladies. I want to also thank the people who have left comments and words of encouragement. You have been a tremendous blessing to me. Thank you for your friendship and support. You are the best. Thank you, WordPress.com, for the happiness engineers who have been kind to me. Approximately 4 years ago, my friend Brett helped me to move my blog and contents from WordPress.com to my own domain and real estate. My weblog changed from secondchancetolive.wordpress.com to secondchancetolive.org. For a more in-depth view of my process and journey with Second Chance to Live, please visit my About page by clicking on this link. The next series of pieces are several lessons that I've learned through my experience pieces. In my experience, I had to break free from the denial system that sought to keep me stuck in believing that there was nothing wrong with me, that what was wrong with me was, as my dad said, all up in my head, that if I just kept my mouth shut and worked harder, I could overcome my traumatic brain injury. This was the message that I received from my dad and other people, implied or otherwise. I internalized this message and believed that there was something wrong with me. I grew up feeling like a mistake, not that I just made mistakes. I attempted to strive to overcompensate to prove that I was not a mistake, that I was not affected by my traumatic brain injury that occurred when I was 10 years old. Nevertheless, I continued to internalize my difficulties that I experienced through my life as there was something inherently wrong with me. I continued to experience these feelings of shame that I was a mistake, not that I just made mistakes, until I could no longer deny my reality. And I've written several articles that help me to explain what helped me to overcome and to make progress in accepting myself. The articles are Don't Talk, Don't Trust, and Don't Feel, The 3 Rules Revisited, Consequences, Whose Shame Are You Carrying, and Display Sadness. Excuse me. In my experience, I had to reach a point in my life that denying my reality was more painful than my need to deny my reality. Deny the reality that I was impacted by a traumatic brain injury. Deny my reality in an attempt to prove that there was nothing wrong with me. In my experience, I found that I had to grieve my reality to be able to accept my reality. I needed to move through the 5 stages of grieving: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I needed to grieve my reality so that I could begin to accept my reality. I needed to grieve my reality so that I could stop beating up on myself. Stop beating up on myself so I could find ways that would work for me to empower my life and my well-being. I needed to grieve my reality so I could recognize when I was being bullied, so that I could break free from the denial system that kept me feeling like a mistake. feeling like a mistake because of my limitations and deficits because of my brain injury, so that I could stop fighting against myself while defending the denial system, a denial system that kept me believing that I was bad and defective because of the residual defects, deficits, and limitations from the injury to my brain, so that I could begin to love and accept and celebrate who I am as an individual who is living with residual deficits and limitations from the injury to my brain, so that I could explore outside of the box that societal stigmatization sought to keep me in through minimization and marginalization, so that I could accept my ability to do some things, so that I could accept my inability to do some things because of my deficits and limitations, and stop berating myself for my inability to do those things, so that I could find ways to use what I could do through my gifts, talents, and abilities in ways that would work for me, for the people who wanted what I have to give, so that I could see that disappointment and disillusionment that I experienced for many years as an important part of my process, so that I could move from one puzzle piece to another and not stay stuck by what I could not change and in the direction of my destiny, so that I could see that I am not my traumatic brain injury or my invisible disability, so that I could see my circumstances as a way to build me up, not to keep me down, so that I could begin to trust the process, the loving God and myself, so that I could do the footwork and let go of the outcomes of my footwork, so that I could pursue excellence instead of being driven by perfectionism, so that I could accept the things I cannot change, change the things that I can, have the wisdom to know the difference, and then be at peace with the difference, so that I could make peace with the loving God and myself, so that I could stop being blamed for what was out of my control. For more information, please read this two-part article, and I have a link to this in the article, Traumatic Brain Injury and the Identified Patient. That's part 1, and Traumatic Brain Injury and the Identified Patient, part 2. Life is a process, a journey, not a destination. My job is to learn how to, from various ingredients, and then combine those ingredients. Again, my job is to learn how to, from various ingredients, and then combine those ingredients together to make various cakes. There's no such thing as failure, only an opportunity to learn. Harness your adversity. With all learning, there is a learning curve. I don't have to have the big picture. The pieces of the puzzle will come together at the right time and in the right order. Switches on the railroad of life to help point us in the direction of our destiny. Setups, not setbacks. The process is more important than the destination. Not when, but now. Our circumstances are not meant to keep us down, but they are meant to build us up. Caterpillars and butterflies, flies, elephant riddle, home runs, strikeouts, and light bulbs, ingredients and baking cakes, tapestries, cracked pots, the power of identification, traumatic brain injury, and suicide. What is important is that we are learning from what happens to us. We are not victims. Living beyond the box that societal stigmatization seeks to place on us through minimization and marginalization. Seeing disappointment, discouragement, and disillusionment as an opportunity. Progress, not perfection. Dreams and destiny. Learning to trust my judgment. Making peace with my past so that my past does not spoil my present. My experiences taught me lessons that prepare me for opportunities. These opportunities provide more experiences that teach me lessons. In turn, these lessons prepare me for more opportunities. I believe that collectively, my lessons, experiences, and opportunities are all pieces of the puzzle that are leading me in the direction of my destiny. I can't do the footwork and trust the loving God with the outcomes. And the last series of pieces are resources for my ongoing brain injury recovery. I have shared the information through my articles, video presentations, slideshow presentations, ebooks, posters, keynote presentations, and demonstrations. Below are links to these resources. So these are the resources that I have links to in the article. Easy translator into your language for Second Chance to Live. So you can translate Second Chance to Live into your home language. 1,814 video presentation links with 12 peer support categories. A list of 400 video presentations created to empower the individual, not the brain injury. Second Chance to Live, 20 brain injury recovery slideshow presentations. 24 posters to encourage and inspire, motivate, and empowerment. Healing 10 free ebooks after traumatic life events and major physical injuries. Limbic system fight or flight response and brain injury recovery. Building your life after a traumatic brain injury YouTube channel. Navigating life after a traumatic brain injury playlist of 269 video presentations. Navigating a life after a traumatic brain injury playlist with 49 video presentation series. Stroke, brain injury, and the benefits of neuroplasticity. 9 habits to benefit from using the principle of neuroplasticity. How I use neuroplasticity to create new neural pathways and brain reorganization. Childhood stroke, brain injury, and healing our brain and body. Schedule Second Chance to Live as a keynote speaker or workshop leader. And then testimonies and endorsements for Second Chance to Live. And then healing in my mind, body, spirit, soul, and emotion pieces. Below is the list of article and video presentations placed in 12 different categories. Categories designed to encourage and empower individuals in their ongoing brain injury recovery process. So click on each of the category links, and the page will open to you. Scroll down the page to desire article or video presentation. The article or video presentation will open for you. These are the categories. Category building self-esteem after brain injury. Next category, brain injury recovery and ongoing process. Self-acceptance after brain injury. Celebrating success following a brain injury. Creating hope after brain injury. Finding and knowing peace after brain injury. Finding purpose after brain injury. Fulfilling dreams after brain injury. My journey living with a brain injury. Overcoming bullying after a brain injury. Peer support after brain injury. We are not alone. And then relationship following a brain injury. And I've created social media pieces. I created a Facebook page, Building Your Life After Traumatic Brain Injury. I also have listed here, I created a Building Your Life After Traumatic Brain Injury YouTube channel, as well as this Second Chance to Live channel. This is the end of the video presentation of this article. I know it's been long, but before I go, let me encourage you with this. Please do not give up on yourself, your process, or a loving God, because more will be revealed to you and to me with time. The pieces of the puzzle will come together in the correct order and at the right time. I'll say so long for now. Have a great day and Merry Christmas to you, as today is December 20th. Bye now.